Hey, I'm Megan and welcome back to my channel. If you have researched or ventured into cold emailing at all, then you've probably noticed by this point that it is in large part a numbers game. In other words, you have to send a lot of emails to start seeing results. Some people will try to save time and cut corners by purchasing email lists, which you can do for very cheap. You can buy very long lists of email addresses. This might seem like a brilliant idea. It's not. I'm going to tell you why, and then I'm going to tell you what you can do instead. There are several reasons why you should not buy email lists. For starters, when you buy email lists, you have no idea what kind of quality you're getting. How are these email addresses collected? From where? When? Did you know that email lists decay over time? What if the names of the contacts are wrong? That's embarrassing. You emailed Jim and her name's Barbara? Second, purchased email lists can get you marked as spam way more, and if that happens too often, your email address is going to get blacklisted and then you're done. Third, there are legality issues to consider. Have you ever heard of GDPR? How about the Canned Spam Act? Did you know that if you violate this act, you can be fined about $44,000 per email? That makes me want to vomit. Fourth, the email list that you bought wasn't reserved for you. It's not like when you bought it, they took it off the shelves. It's a digital product, which means that other people are buying it and emailing the same people. In other words, the people on these lists are probably getting hit up with cold emails all the time, which means that you are going to have a harder time getting their attention. Fifth, most email service providers aren't even going to let you upload a list and then start firing off emails. And this is because each individual contact wasn't opted in. Now, I want you to imagine all of the stuff I just told you and imagine how that is going to negatively impact the performance of your cold emails. There's a very high likelihood that the recipient's email service provider is going to mark you as spam. If they don't, there's a high probability that the recipient is going to mark you as spam. If they don't, they're probably not going to read it. Even if you are not marked as spam, did you know that if you send too many emails that aren't getting a response, it will negatively impact your email address? Email service providers want to see you having meaningful conversations. So if they see that one specific email address is sending out hundreds of emails and attempting to start hundreds of conversations unsuccessfully, it's going to be a red flag to them. Your open rate will suffer, your response rate will suffer, your conversion rate will suffer. All because you wanted to save a little time and buy an email list. It's not worth it. So let's talk about what you can do instead. I'm going to give you a few ideas for how you can collect high quality, highly targeted email addresses and not have it come back to bite you. Also, you're able to do all of these things for free. Idea number one is use a lead magnet. I've talked about lead magnets before in this video, so I will drop that link in the description below. In a nutshell, a lead magnet is a free piece of content that you give away in exchange for that person's contact information. They opt in of their own volition, which means that this approach is safe and legal. Once you have their email address and you send them the lead magnet, you can continue to nurture this relationship and communicate with them. And if you have something, a product or service that you want to sell them, you can choose to do that whenever you want. If you need examples of effective lead magnets, just go to my site and see how I did it. I've got a few. I've got a free guide to finding keywords for your blog. I've got a free email course. I've got a free guide to optimizing your LinkedIn profile that comes with a cold email template. And then I've got a free list of 60 cold email subject lines. When people see these freebies, they have to enter their first name and their email address, and then they'll have access to it. And then I have their information, so if I want to continue communicating with them, I can. I'll drop all of those links below, again, if you just want an example of what a lead magnet can look like. Idea number two is collect email addresses through social media. Full disclosure, this isn't a method that I rely on too much because in my experience, it is hit or miss, depending on what you're offering, but you can locate brands on their Instagram pages, Facebook, Twitter, wherever, and reach out to them there. What you're trying to do is track down the name and email address of the employee that is most relevant to the services that you want to pitch. So for example, if you're a freelance writer and you send an Instagram message to a brand that you want to work with, you would want to message them and say, hey, I'm a writer, I'm interested in blogging for you. Can you please give me the email address of whoever manages your blog? Idea number three is to use whatever email address that a company makes public and cold email them there. Very often, if you go to a company's website and you go to usually their contact page or their footer, you'll see a generic info at or help at or support at email address, something like that. So you can use this email address and send your cold email there. Here's the thing, because that's the email address that's made public, it's the email address that everybody is using. That inbox is probably slammed, and the likelihood of that conversation, that email leading to anything, it's not that great. This is why traditional cold emailing is largely a numbers game. Not totally, but to a degree it is. Can this approach work? Yes, absolutely. This is how I initially started growing my own business, and because I was doing it a lot, it worked really well. Is it the most efficient approach? No. But that brings me to idea number 4, which is use LinkedIn outreach to connect with a relevant employee. This is the method that I use now. I've been using it. It's what I teach in Revenue Spark, and we consistently see amazing results. You want to use LinkedIn to track down the employee who is closest to the service that you're offering. Again, using freelance writers as an example, you would want to connect with professionals who have a title like editor or director of content, or something that indicates that they work with that company's blog. You connect with them directly on LinkedIn. You send them a DM to start the conversation, and then you ask to take that conversation to email, where you can discuss everything in more detail, send them samples, and so on and so on. This method is gold. This is why I make 5 figures a month. This is why my students are replacing their previous incomes and then doubling them and then tripling them. It works like a charm. The secret, not really a secret, but the key here is that we're not cold pitching. We're not pitching our services to a stranger, which is much harder to do. We're doing cold outreach in that we are connecting with a stranger, but we don't pitch our services until we've made that initial connection and exchanged, just a few messages back and forth. By then, a relationship has been established, so it's not cold pitching. That's why I call this warm emailing. We've already warmed the lead up. They are not cold. Our conversion rates are much, much higher. We can be way more intentional with who we reach out to, and we don't have to send hundreds of emails to start seeing results. I can send 10 emails and close at least 1 deal, sometimes more. This is because we are scaling back on quantity and focusing more on quality. That's not gonna happen when you buy email lists. Okay, so I know it can be tempting to try to find ways to cut corners. It's very tempting, especially when you know that you can buy these lists for so cheap. But I'm telling you, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again, landing clients, growing your business really boils down to starting relationships and building and nurturing relationships and having conversations. You can't fake that, and you can't cheat your way through it. It's just not gonna work. If you wanna learn more about how you can copy my exact method for landing clients, then drop me a comment with Spark and I'll reply with more information. If you made it this far, please give this video a thumbs up and tell YouTube that you find my content valuable. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and make sure you click on the notification bell so you never miss my new content, and I'll see you next time.